In the movie business, we deal with really big ideas. So it has to be something that's really threatening the entire planet, or they're basically not interested. Okay. So obviously, we got that. Now, two of the movies that I created or helped to create were Outbreak and Armageddon. Outbreak is about a global pandemic. It's actually a pretty good movie. It's got Dustin Hoffman and Kevin Spacey and Morgan Freeman and some other great actors. You guys should see it if you haven't seen it already. And then the second movie I made a few years later, or helped to create a few years later, was Armageddon. That one kind of went off the rails, pretty far removed from what I had tried to create. When I start to work on a project, I always ask myself, what would really happen? And so I want to talk to people like you. I want to find, like when I was researching Armageddon, I went to talk to an astronomer at Harvard whose name was Brian Marsden. And he was the guy who actually tracks the orbital trajectories of new planetoids, okay? And I talked to him for 6 hours one day, and that was the most intense conversation I've probably ever had in my life. And he tried to tell me as much as he could in one afternoon about how that process goes forward. Well, I love that stuff, and I tried to put that in the screenplay. Unfortunately, they got a director named Michael Bay to do that one. And as you know, there wasn't a whole lot of science in Armageddon. But there was actually a little bit of science that survived in Outbreak. So I was pretty pleased with that. So for the last 10 years, I've been obsessed with climate change because clearly it's the same kind of threat. The problem, and Mike Roddy is the one who actually got me interested. Mike Roddy gave me a book to read about 10 years ago called 6 Degrees, I think it was. It was a fascinating book. Some of you guys have read it. You're nodding. Okay. And since then, I've probably read a dozen other books. I was also very influenced by Al Gore's documentary, Inconvenient Truth, which had an impact on me. And I kept searching and searching and searching for a way to dramatize the problem of climate change in a compelling way. The problem is that in a movie, you got to have a disaster that's happening right now. It can't take 50 years. That's not a movie. That's something else. And so what I'm doing now is actually something else. I've decided you simply cannot dramatize this. I wrote one screenplay called The First Wave, which was about a sudden disaster. It was about the notion that the Greenland ice sheet slides off the Greenland continent, Greenland island, overnight. It happens like that, and it creates a huge wave. And of course, all the scientists say, well, it couldn't slide off overnight. And I said, yeah, but this is a movie. Okay. So it slides off overnight, and there's this huge wave that comes down and basically inundates the entire city of Boston out to Route 128. And 300,000 people die in about 15 minutes. That's bad. That gets the people's attention because the wave doesn't stop there. It's going to keep going south, and eventually it's going to hit South Florida. And everybody knows what's going to happen to South Florida. So I thought, well, this is kind of a cheat because I'm using a premise that's not totally believable, but nevertheless, it does dramatize what will really happen in the end, probably long after we're gone. South Florida will be gone. The Texas coastal plain will be gone. New York City will be gone. Washington, D.C. will be gone. It'll be a scuba park, perhaps. They'll visit, we'll go visit the Jefferson Memorial with scuba gear on. And we'll go visit the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia with scuba gear on. And the Central Valley of California will be flooded all the way up to, I forget where exactly, but near Fresno. It'll be badly flooded. Anyway, that stuff all takes time. It's going to take years and years and years. So what I'm doing now is a little different, and I'm trying to use the time in my favor. So I'm writing a novel instead of a movie, so that we can have the passage of time and actually show the incredible disasters that I think will actually unfold in this century. I don't think it's going to take 200 years or 300 years. I think we're on a path now to where if we don't turn around, we're in deep doo-doo by the end of this century. And my kids will still be alive, and a lot of your kids will still be alive. So hopefully get something done before too long. Thanks.